It doesn't make sense that you have some people at Westcap, making $300,000 a month, and you have some people not being able to even submit a loan. What's the difference between the two? Same market, same leads.
Yeah.
What's the difference? It's the mindset. One just looks at it as there's an opportunity right now and I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity. And I always talk about respecting your opportunities. How do you respect your opportunities? You go for them.
We are on episode 3 now of this new podcast series, and on this episode we have Al Bennett. Al Bennett, like me, is a vice president of West Capital Lending. Something Al does really well is he takes people that are brand new to the mortgage industry and he helps them get started. So we talk about specific scenarios within his team where he's helped people from ground zero all the way to $80,000 a month in income, and he walks us through his tactics, his strategies, and also all the adversity that he's faced, right? Not only personally but professionally. He's gone through a lot of different challenges and he walks you how to handle those. So without any further ado, let's jump into this episode.
I was always this ambitious person. I was the kid in 7th, 8th grade. I was selling CDs. This is probably before your time, but there was a time where you can burn CDs, right? Burn music.
Dude, I was on that. The LimeWire era, bro.
LimeWire, Napster.
Yeah.
I was the kid that was up all night. It would take like 30 minutes to burn a CD. And I would go to school the next day and I would sell, these CDs for $5 a pop. So I always had kind of like this ambitious mindset. And, I think that kind of carried on into mortgages. I was going to school at the time. I had told my mom, hey, I got this mortgage job. They're paying, minimum wage, but, I heard a lot of people are making great money there. I can make some commissions and people are making $10,000 a month. And at that time I was thinking $10,000 a month, that would change my life. I'd be rich.
Right.
That's what I thought. I was 21 at the time. And I had started. I had ended up getting the job. I was the last pick in the class. I did pretty good on the interview, so they picked me up. Last pick in the class, and I remember my mom said, "Hey, if you don't finish college, you can't live here." And she had her own set of, I guess, I can't fault her for it. God rest her soul. I can't fault her for it, but she had her own thought process in terms of how things would work or how things should work.
Yeah. You
don't go to school. She couldn't fathom me making 10 grand a month. Like, let's just call it what it is. She didn't think that was possible. So anyways, she said, if you don't go to school, you can't live at the house. You can't live with me here. So that was it. So I ended up, living with a good friend of mine, at his mother's house. It was a small house. I was sleeping on the floor. And it was sink or swim. It was either I was going to go back with my tail between my legs, back to my mom, like, hey, you're right, finish school, whatever I needed to do, or I'm going to make it. And granted that I was brand new in the business, I had no experience. What I did was I just outworked everybody. They didn't have Uber back then. So I was like hitching rides to work. I think I had, I was leaving at like 5 a.m, coming home at like 10 at night, just putting a lot of time in, a lot of effort in, a lot of hours in. And within the first 4 months, I was up to 30 grand a month. My mom was a believer. I made President's Club that first year, ended up going to Hawaii. And that just kind of set the tone for my career. I just figured, if, at the end of the day, mortgages, what it is just working hard, staying dedicated, staying focused. And that kind of set the tone for me.
Interesting. How do you think you had your success so quickly? What is it that makes you different? Because essentially a lot of people I see get into the mortgage industry and they could be in it for 6 months to a year, and you go look at their stats and they struggle. How did you get off to such a good start?
I think it was just I just had a chip on my shoulder, man.
Yeah.
I had a chip on my shoulder. And again, like a lot of it came from my mom. She was really tough on me, really hard on me, but kind of operated within like a really rigid set of guidelines. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job. That's what her mentality was. That's what she saw as to how I should move.
Interesting.
And I don't know, I just, I always did good at school, but I just felt like, I always felt like I had to get the gab, the silver tongue. I felt like I can sell my way through things, Like I worked at my first one of my first jobs was at Max Muscle. I used to sell, nutrition products. I would see people pulling up in BMWs and Mercedes, and I would always ask them, hey, what do you do? And a lot of these people were in sales. So I knew that sales was the right route for me to go. So, like I said, I feel like one of the reasons that I got off to a fast start was because I just had a chip on my shoulder to be better, to do more, to work harder. And the fact that I didn't know anything and I had to prove myself, that's just kind of what got me off to a pretty fast start. So,
did you have any mentors?
I had a ton of mentors at the time. So one of the ways that I got into mortgages was I was working at this company where do you know those companies where it's like network marketing? You have to bring people in and recruit.
Yeah, like the MLM.
MLM.
Yeah.
I was doing an MLM, and there was a guy in the MLM that was doing mortgages, and he's like, "Hey man, there's people here making 10 grand a month." And like I said, I'm like, 10 grand a month, man. Like, I'm 21 years old. Like, I'll be rich. 10 grand a month. That's crazy. And he just kind of took me under his wing, kind of, showed me the ropes as far as like, here's what you say, here's kind of the hours that you work, here's your mentality. And I ended up passing that guy up pretty quickly. I was young, I was hungry, I had to make it work. It's just like one of those things where, you just burn your ship, right? I had to make it work. So it was either that or I had to go back to school and go back to my mom's house, which a lot of my motivation, I think about this all the time, but a lot of just because I think about it too, like, why am I so, like, what makes me the way that I am? And I think a lot of it was, again, God bless my mom's soul, but she had just rigid guidelines in terms of how life should look. And a lot of it was just proving her wrong, if I'm being honest.
That's an interesting take on motivation too.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the day-to-day for you. What did a regular day look like when you just started out in mortgage, and how were you allocating your time? What type of leads were you taking? What was it that you were doing on a daily basis that made you speed up and ramp and go past all these other people?
In the very beginning?
Yeah.
So I'll be honest. In the very beginning, it was a lot easier. I didn't have a family. I didn't have kids. I didn't really have any responsibility. I was just responsible for myself. It was way easier. That's number one. But back then, when you're 21 years old, like, let's just be real. Like, my motivation was, it was girls.
Yeah.
It was buying nice cars. It was going to the club and just spending money. Like, that's what it was. It was, let me work really hard during the week. So I can have fun on the weekend. That's what it was. So the good thing that I had was I did have work ethic. I did have a sense of responsibility, like I have to make this happen so I can have fun. Like, that's just kind of how it started for me. So, I mean, my day-to-day back then was I've always been pretty much into the gym. I always realized you have to put, you have to take care of your body so your body takes care of you. So, I was always, going to the gym, putting the right food in my body. And just kind of the main thing for me was there was almost like this badge of honor. First one in, last one out. I'm the first one in, I'm the last one out. So, like I said, that kind of set the tone for me in the beginning. And I've kind of, obviously, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more responsibilities. I've had to like tail that back a little bit, but that work ethic and that mentality is still there.
What would you say makes a good loan officer?
What makes a good loan officer, this sounds extremely cliche, but it's belief, man. It's belief. Like, you have to, it's like people in the pros. Anyone that plays pro sports, like those guys' confidence is through the roof, right?
Yep.
In order to be a successful loan officer, you have to have unwavering confidence. And not only do you have to have belief in yourself, but you also have to have other people that believe in you. I'll bring up a Ram, for example. We work with the Ram. I'll bring up this story real quick, but we were at Evan Stone's house. He's the owner of Champions Funding.
Quick pause here in this piece of content. I want to let you know that if you've made it this far, it's a great sign for us. It means you enjoyed the piece of content that we created for you today. And also, you're finding value in it. Okay. Now, for us, in order for us to continue making this content, continue bringing on these fantastic guests, we ask 2 things of you, and it's 2 clicks. Okay. The first click is going to go ahead and like this piece of content, like this episode. And the second click is to subscribe if you haven't already. Every single subscriber means so much to us because we're right at the beginning of this journey. We are trying to give you as much valuable information as possible. And as we start to build that traction, that allows us to go ahead and reinvest and put more energy, time, and effort into producing these episodes for you and giving you more every single time. So without further ado, I'm going to let you go. Enjoy the rest of this episode.
And Evan Stone was kind of talking about, he brought up this story. I'll sum it up. But the story was basically like, hey, you know, I lost my parents at a young age, and I felt like he was talking directly to me because I lost both my parents at a young age, you know?
Sorry, man.
And he talked about, he said, you know, and I had to figure things out. And one thing that I figured out was not only in order for me to be successful, do I need to believe in myself, but he had his wife on stage, he had a couple of his friends on stage, and he was talking about these people. Again, I felt like he was talking directly to me. And he was talking about how each friend kind of had a certain impact in his life. Like during tough times, this friend made me laugh. During tough times, this friend was the one that believed in me. This friend made the NFL, and like I took inspiration from that and I believed in him. But I think what makes to answer your question, I think what makes a successful loan officer is not only having the belief in themselves, but finding people that believe in them. Aram, for example, and when Evan was telling a story, I looked at Aram and I was like, man, like Aram will tell me every week in some way, shape, or form. He doesn't just say, I believe in you, Al, but he'll just be like, hey, man, you're going to do great things. You're doing a great job with your team. Just kind of reinforces that I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, all right, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing a good job. I'm going to keep helping other people out and keep enriching their lives and having an impact on them as much as I can. So I just think belief in yourself is one of the key aspects, and confidence.
What would you say to someone who doesn't feel like they have enough self-belief to start?
Do what I did. If you don't have that belief in yourself, outwork everybody. You can control that. You can control what time you wake up. You can control how many phone calls that you make. You can control what time you leave the office, right? So if you don't have that belief, then you need to create momentum in order to create results. And utilize those results as a means to, all right, I can do this, and build off that confidence and build off that momentum and find that belief and create that belief. Because at the end of the day, believing in yourself doesn't mean anything if you don't follow that belief up with all out, I call it all out massive action. You gotta put action into it.
You know, it's so funny. There are those people in the world. I think me and you are one, you know, we fall into this category. There are the people in the world who have self-belief without necessarily needing evidence. You know, and you just go, you know what, I can do it just because I'm me. And then there's other people, like you just said, who need the evidence in order to feel, okay, yeah, this is something that's possible. And like you said, in order to get the evidence, you have to do the work. But in order to do the work, you got to in some way believe that there's going to be some type of outcome. And it's like the chicken and the egg. But one thing you touched on there was confidence and self-belief are kind of intertwined. And I was researching confidence because I just really wanted to understand, because I feel like essentially when you look at any business, regardless of the nature of the business, could be mortgage, could be real estate, whatever it is. If you look at your manager or you look at the people above you, you're like, is that person really that much more intelligent than I am? Or is that person making 5 times my income that much brighter than I am as a human being, or know that much more about the industry? Not really. The differentiator is usually just their confidence level to be able to take on the challenge. And when you boil down confidence to what it truly is at its core, confidence is your ability to manage cortisol. That's all it is. And it's essentially, cortisol is that stress hormone in your body that basically tells you, okay, shit, like I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if it's possible, right? And confidence essentially is, and when you're managing the cortisol, essentially what happens is as you take on bigger and bigger challenges, your response to those challenges stays even keeled. You stay calm, right? And it's like an NBA player at a free throw line. If me and you were put on a free throw line at the NBA finals and we've got 3 seconds on the clock,
bro, we're nervous.
I'm going to forget how to shoot.
Yeah, we're nervous.
Right? NBA players got that confidence, and the confidence is essentially just their ability to manage the cortisol response in their body. That's all it is. And then when life stacks things on you, like now you're saying you've got the family, you've got, you know, all these other responsibilities that you have to stack on. Well, now you've got all of these different stresses that can hit you, and you've managed to hold on to them and get through them. Your confidence is through the roof, you know?
Yeah.
And it just takes those opportunities to be able to handle and manage stress for you to realize, okay, this isn't what you expect it to be. Like, the stress isn't going to kill you. You're going to make it through, right?
Yes.
So it's about future pacing yourself too. If you're someone who's like 25 and you're just getting to mortgage, it's like, okay, if you don't have these stresses in your life, if you haven't gone through these difficult things, well, you have to really believe in yourself that you're going to get to those difficult things. And then also you have to future pace yourself to be able to handle them and be like, okay, cool. Yeah. Anything that comes up, this could happen, that could happen. You wake up in the morning, like, you're working out. You have to be thinking about, okay, like, you know, the worst thing in the world could happen today. How am I going to respond? And if you can preempt any type of stress and you feel like you can handle and manage that, like, your brain, your mentality, your self-esteem is going to be that much higher than where you're currently at in your workplace.
Interesting that you say that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, it's interesting that you say that. So the reason that it's interesting that you say that is because there's two stages in my career. I've been doing this for 20 years. And there was the before I face real adversity me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the after I face real, like, debilitating adversity me. So let me touch on that. 7 years ago, right? So 7 years ago, you know, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, right? So he was diagnosed with cancer. I'll make a long story short, but I ended up having to be his caretaker at that same time. Unfortunately, my mom had, so cancer is just, it's a sensitive subject to me. My mom had passed from cancer right before my first son was born, when I was 25. And then my dad ended up getting cancer 10 years later. So super sensitive subject for me. So when he was diagnosed, it caused strains in my relationship. So not only was he, you know, diagnosed with cancer, but I was also going through a divorce all at the same time, right? All at the same time.
Tough.
Had to take work off in order to be his caretaker. So money's being drained from my account. Having to raise a kid, trying to be strong for him. It was like it was like the most, it was the hardest time in my life. I'm trying to think, like, you never think the amount of, like, sadness and heartache that I felt was so deep that I only could go up. Like, I can only go up. Like, I looked at my situation as, how can I get out of this? Like, how can I get out of this? It was going to the nursing home, going to the hospital. It was all bad. It was all bad. It feels like a really foggy time in my life. But the silver lining from that situation was I learned to be a lot more patient. I learned to be a lot more compassionate. I valued just human life a lot more. I decided, you know, it really helped me kind of slow things down and really put things in perspective. So I say that to say this. After that, I had just a lot more empathy for the world. I had a lot more empathy for certain people's situations. It helped me become a better leader. It helped me become better at sales, because I was more empathetic. I feel like after COVID, there was a lot of distrust in this world. And in order to give a product to somebody, like, you need to put yourself in their shoes. Anyways, I say that because being able to get through that situation, and it was tough. Like, you've seen me break down, and there was a video, you know, that I broke down in front of Danny and Eric, in front of the whole company, because it was it still gets to me. But the fact that I was able to navigate and get through that situation gave me all the confidence that I need, that no situation is ever too bad. And my ability to manage stress it's unmatched. Like, things are going to come my way. Things are going to happen, bad or good. That's life at the end of the day. We just have to do our best to get through it. So, yeah.
Dude, thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
That's really raw, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So for you went through all these difficult experiences, and now you feel like a different person on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
How do you coach other people who maybe haven't necessarily been through that and who are feeling overwhelmed just by the day-to-day of being an LO?
the thing is, man, most people are going through things, you know, like that's the thing. Like I realize, obviously there's different degrees to it, but one
Right.
thing you realize as the type of leader that I am, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Um, I want I want to be remembered. Like, hey, remember that Al Bennett guy? That was a good dude. Like, he was always smiling. He was always positive. He always had a good outlook on life. And being that type of person, the amount of people that will confide in you is, I mean, there's things that people have told me on my team where it's just like, I mean, I'm talking just as soon as last week. Like I was dealing with a personal matter, but a lot of people are going through certain things that, you know, it might not be that serious, but to them it is that serious, you know? And, you know, what I do is I just kind of put things in perspective and tell them, hey man, here's what I went through. Here's how I navigated it. I did it in a healthy way. Like one thing that I actually did when, my father was passing was he was always really big into photography. So when that happened, I got really big into photography. I picked up his camera. I'd go down to downtown LA. And, you know, it'd be like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, probably not the safest thing to do, but I'd go and just take pictures of just the city. Or ended up getting into videography. I kind of use a lot of that in my social media as far as that skill set.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I feel like we're all human at the end of the day. Life's not perfect at the end of the day. We're all going through something. We all got something that we're dealing with. And I feel like if you're kind of like that beacon of hope per se, as far as like Al got through it, I can get through it. Al's going to be raw with me. Al's going to be real with me. It kind of gives people the ability to open up. And we can kind of navigate through those certain situations a lot better, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's amazing, man. Beatrice actually came in and shared something. So
okay.
Beatrice, I never knew this. That's amazing. So Beatrice said she's a cancer survivor, and that changed her entire perspective as well.
It will, man. It's first off, you know, congrats.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very, very happy that you are. And it's a terrible disease, you know. It's it just is, and it just, it depends on how you look at it. Like I took the, you know, glass half full, you know, route, or glass half empty, right? So I looked at it as, you know, I learned from it. How can I be a more positive and impactful and inspirational person from the bad experiences that I dealt with? How can I impact people in a positive way? So, you know, I feel like I drew from it to kind of to do that. And I feel like I've done that. I feel like, again, there was a version of me before where I was more money motivated. I was more business, X's and O's. And then there was more the human element of things. How can we still be successful, but how can we touch people's lives in a certain way where you're going to be remembered? Because people aren't going to remember like, oh, when I was with Al, I made 50 grand this month. Like, yeah, that's important, but mostly people are going to remember how you made them feel.
It's interesting how everyone goes through the arc of making money. I feel like the arc starts off with, and I was the exact same way, right? Yeah. Me and you were like, okay, cool. Let's put a vision board on the wall. And the vision board is just like cars, house, Audi R8, this, that. And you slowly start to realize once you achieve a certain level of success whereby you can afford those things, that those things were just symbols of wealth, but they weren't true wealth.
Just things.
And when you look at actually what true wealth is family. True wealth is the people that you love. True wealth is having a legacy. True wealth is having control and the options to do what you need to do when you need to do it.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
And it's funny because I feel like our whole industry, if you look at what gets people into it, it is just all the flashy stuff. And what's really amazing is that you're able to take your team and allow them to see through your experience that the flashy stuff is a great way to start. Yeah. But what's going to keep you going, what's going to keep you in the business for the long run is the legacy.
The legacy.
And what would you say as far as what you would ideally want? How would you want to be remembered? What would you want your legacy to look like?
So I'll answer that. But let me say this. One thing, we talk about Danny Iskander, right? Yep. Eric Hines, right? Owners of the company. One thing that Westcap has done for me is, obviously, it's put me in a position where, you know, finances are great, right? but there's a bunch of stories. There's a bunch of inspirational stories that I draw from. And I look at Danny and Eric like, yeah, these guys started this company. That's great. But what I also look at them at as is these guys are great fathers. They're present in their kids' lives. And for me, that's what it's all about. These guys are actively present in their kids' lives.
Yep.
So as I'm working, I've afforded the ability to coach my son's soccer team, coach my son's baseball team. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. So, at the end of the day, like, I feel like my legacy is Al Bennett. That guy, he was serious as far as trying to get, my finances together, but he also put family first. He put friendships first. He led with love. And I remember that guy. I remember that guy. That guy was a different dude, and he did what he needed to do in order to make it financially, but he also did what he needed to do, which I think is more important, which is to also make sure that he's there for his family, as much as possible, and, kind of build those memories, because those memories are what matters most.
Totally.
So
what would you change about hustle culture?
It's hard to say that, man, because I feel like my path was my path and my path was perfect. I was young, you're 20 years old, your priorities are what they are, like I couldn't foresee I'm going to have kids one day, I'm going to be coach. I didn't see that, I saw the weekend.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And that's whatever it is that's going to motivate you, that's going to get you going, use that. If it's even if it's negativity, even if you have haters out there, like use that as the means to get you going.
Yeah.
I feel like, people look at happiness as drinking Mai Tais on a beach. But I was talking to you right now. I said, I think happiness is going through the ups and the downs and the struggles and the successes and the failures, and looking at yourself at the mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and just saying, dude, I did it. I did it today. I got a W today.
Yep.
I'm proud of myself. That's where the happiness comes from, the journey itself. Like I told you right now, I'm building a team still.
Yep.
It's not perfect. It's good, but it's not perfect. But I think right now, this is the happy zone. This is the time where I need to be thankful. This is the time where, I'm going to get the most happiness from when things aren't perfect. And we're trying different things out to make it perfect, or as perfect as it can get.
I like that. I like your take on motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I would kind of take away from hustle culture is I feel like it's very one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like motivation starts off with self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
There's a self-awareness that you need to have before you start doing any work of, where am I today? Am I feeling kind of negative? Am I feeling kind of down? Am I feeling kind of pessimistic about the day? Or am I feeling great and am I having a great time and am I about to go into the office and kill it, right? And once you have that moment of reflection and self-awareness, then you lean into the direction. So like if it's one of those days where you're waking up and like, today's just awful. This is just an awful day. I feel tired. I feel exhausted. Now you lean into that negative anchor, right? The negative anchor of like, fuck it, like I've got to do this because this person's against me and that person's happening and all these things that, have been obstacles in my direction. You lean into that, deep negative and you use that to lift you up. And at the same time, if you reflect in the morning, you're like, all right, today's a good day, listen to some good music and you're feeling great. You lean into that positive and you let that allow you to lift you up. But sometimes I feel like what a lot of people do is they stay so one-dimensional with hustle culture and they don't allow themselves to actually reflect and lean into the direction they're already in. And if someone's already negative, they're like, well, you just got to feel happy. You got to feel good. And you're like, you, dude, like I'm having a terrible day. I don't want to feel happy. I want to lean into negative. And at the same time, the positive is like, someone's just feeling good about themselves. And you've got some army drill sergeant who's their, VP. And all of a sudden they're coming up and going, yeah, well, you need to friggin' da. Yeah. It's going to take them up their frame.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something you're pretty good at, man. I see you as an empath, like the way that you're able to connect to people's emotions and situations, Danny, Eric's. So that self-awareness, I think, is what I think can be added to hustle culture, which can make it even better. Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Like I said, I draw, it's just, I like to empath. That's a good word. I like to just look at things, beyond what they may seem. Obviously, mortgage companies, we're here to make money. We're here to do this. But there's so many inspirational stories. Jason Doby, we were just talking about him, right? Super inspirational guy, right? Donated his kidney to his father.
Yep.
Did an Ironman. I believe he completed an Ironman.
He completed one, and he recently pushed himself to the limit.
Popped his knee out. But that guy inspires me. I believe he's 52. If I botched that, I'm sorry, but I believe Dobie's 52.
Yeah.
But that's just a cool story, man. Like, donated his kidneys to his dad, super pushes himself, wants to just, push himself to be healthy, wants to push the envelope.
Yep.
I was telling you earlier, I started, not a big deal, but I work out, but I said, Dobie can do an Ironman. Josue also can do an Ironman. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just run 2 miles a day for the next 30 days, just as like a little challenge, just like as something to get done. But also other people see that and they get inspired. So I don't know. I just feel like the industry, it's just, especially at WestCap, it's just like a wealth of inspirational stories that I like to draw from and apply them to my life.
That's cool, man. I like that.
Yeah.
Patty actually came and she said, I connect with her experience. She went through the same thing with her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that experience made her stronger. And she said, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for saying that. Yeah, it's just a matter of how you deal with it. Some people deal with it in negative ways. Some people deal with it in positive ways. You can that adversity, that struggle, that I was crying every day, like life felt bleak. Sometimes you just got to go through the dark to see the light, and it just made me a much more patient father, a much more patient leader, gave me ultra confidence that I can get through anything, being able to get through that. And, that's kind of the tone that's been set.
So let's dive into the mortgage side.
Okay.
So first question, what should a loan officer be focusing on right now if they want to make money in this market?
Focusing on just being, let me think about this for a second. There's a ton, but let me try to think of the top things that you should be focused on. So a lot of this stuff kind of sounds cliche, but it's real.
No.
It's real.
I want to hear
your mindset. Like if you're of the mindset, rates are high.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, rates are high right now. It's not time right now. Rates are going to be lower and it's going to get a lot easier. If that's your mindset, you're already losing.
Okay.
The mindset just needs to be people need help and I have the ability to help them. And I'm going to every single day do the best that I can, show up every single day and help people. And there's a lot of meat on the bone right now. People are eating right now.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense that you have some people at WestCap, making $300,000 a month, and you have some people not being able to even submit a loan. What's the difference between the two? Same market, same leads.
Yeah.
What's the difference? It's the mindset. One just looks at it as there's an opportunity right now, and I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity. And I always talk about respecting your opportunities. How do you respect your opportunities? You go for them. You put work into them.
Yeah.
You do your best. That's how you respect your opportunities. Just like working out. Like, how do I respect my body? I work it out. So it's really just all about the mindset and the amount of effort and energy and whatnot that you put into it. Mindset.
I like that.
Yeah.
In terms of the types of transactions that you think are going to be easiest for loan officers to work over the next year or so, would you say it's going to more so be in that direction of seconds and HELOCs still? Or do you think maybe like we're going to start moving into more of a purchase market? What are you thinking that the LO should focus on in terms of loan type?
So cash out still number one in HELOCs. Obviously from a cash out standpoint, it's pretty straightforward. If they, let's just say have like a, 3% first, they owe 100,000 and, they need, 50,000, to pay off debt. Well, you might want to look at doing a HELOC, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to jack their whole interest rate up. So HELOCs are good. But what I'm also seeing a lot of right now are the rate and term market slowly coming back. You're getting a lot of these 7% interest rates. These clients just bought 2023, beginning of 2024, 7%, and we're doing a lot of no cost loans, 6.5%, 30-year fixed loans, dropping their rate, giving them a lender credit to pay for all their fees. So rate and terms are also coming back. I think if the bond continues to drop, we're going to see a big rate and term market come back. Typically, that is that's kind of like the sign of the boom. Once you could just rate and term everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude.
So
how far away from the boom do you think we are?
I'm hoping 6 months.
Okay.
I think we're gonna kind of experience kind of like a slow burn. I don't think it's gonna be like this big dramatic drop, but you see like people are chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
The 10-year bond, I believe last week just got below 4, and you see like whenever that happens, it just vastly upticks applications.
Mm-hmm.
So people are like right there chomping at the bit. If we get a little bit more relief, I think it's just going to be like a mini boom, you know?
Okay,
mini
I like
boom.
that.
Yeah.
How does a loan officer scale when there's a boom, right? Because obviously, if you're working as a solo LO, you only have a certain amount of time in the day. How would you recommend your LOs right now who are at capacity to scale when everything starts to get busy?
I would try to do it now. I would try to do it now, and brace for it, you know, in the most obviously cost-effective way that you can. But, you know, us being at WestCap, you know, having an assistant obviously is paramount. All the top people have assistants. So figuring out a way where you can incorporate that into your business now. I even, for my retail team, offered an incentive. Once you guys decide to get off retail, I'll pay for half an assistant's salary for, you know, 2 months, because I know how important that is.
Nice.
I want to give people the roadmap to success, right?
Yep.
And that's having an assistant to help you scale the proper way, because at the end of the day, being a broker is not easy. It's a lot of being on the phone, but it's also a lot of back end paperwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need someone to kind of help with that. And, you know, that's what I would probably try to get in place right now if you could, versus waiting till the actual boom happens. Try to get that in place right now.
I like that. You know what's funny? When the boom happens, it starts to get so busy around licensing. You start to see lots of people, you know, jump into the industry.
Coming back.
And it's almost like if we could just get the message out now that everything's about to change, the amount of people who aren't in loans, who would benefit from being in loans right now compared to waiting, it's crazy, right? Like when I got into mortgages back in 2020, I mean, it was awful. I was, you know, backed up in a huge queue for licenses. I think I applied for like 5 licenses. I got Maryland and I had to roll with that for like a whole month because, you know, all the states were backed up. So I think right now is the time. Like if we're saying we need to prepare, it's like if you want to be a loan officer, if you're a real estate agent and you see the benefit in doing both, it's like reach out to a company like WestCap first of all, purely because if you're an agent right now, you can do both.
Dual.
Right?
Yep.
You can do dual. And it's like just having the option to be able to do a loan when loans get good, that could almost completely derail you from being a real estate agent. Because as you know, as a loan officer in the company right now, the market isn't that favorable. But we're talking about guys in your team like Jimmy doing solid $50K a month, right? Had an $80,000 a month. These people are absolutely killing it in these markets. Even if you're new in a good market, you're going to be making high 5 figures. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I love everything you're doing on the recruitment front, in the sense of just getting the message out there of how beneficial it is to do loans. I think not enough people realize that.
Beneficial, man. It's beneficial right now. And honestly, I like it right now. I think I like the flow right now.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people on the sidelines waiting.
Yep.
And that's good for people that are like, that's good for people that have that mentality that I was telling you about, which is to have a certain mindset about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, people are eating. Therefore, I'm going to eat.
Yep.
Right? Versus just waiting for interest rates to drop and standing on the sidelines. Get in right now. And once those rates drop, you'll be much more prepared to take advantage of it. So
100%.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about how you got your HELOC status, how you became the number 1 in the company for HELOCs.
Yeah.
What was it that you did differently?
If I'm being honest, let me try to not come off as it was just easy. It was.
You said that to me at first. You're like, bro, just do this. It's easy. And I'm like,
okay, you know, it was an easy sell. You have somebody that has house is worth $1 million.
mm-hmm.
3% on $500,000. They need $100,000 in order to consolidate compounding interest credit card debt, right?
Yep.
So we have this HELOC to where they can literally take 30 seconds to 2 minutes tops to type in their information, and it will spit out basically a pre-approval, right? Yep. And as long as the income is verified, there's a very high chance that loan will fund within 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
No appraisal needed, no actual income docs needed.
It is an easy sell.
It's easy, right? So I'm not really like a salesman. I'm not like, hey guys, we have this 4.5. Like I'm very conversational, just like this. Like I'm having a beer with my buddy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, here's the situation. Here's the best approach. The main thing is you're currently paying compounding interest credit cards. You're just a hamster. You know, I give them like a visual. You're in a rat race. You're in a hamster wheel paying these credit cards. If you don't do this, you're gonna pay thousands of dollars between now and the end of the year, and you will be in the exact same spot. Versus if you take this HELOC, not only does it lower your monthly payment, not only is it simple interest versus compounding interest, but you're going to actually be a little bit further along. The balance will be lower, and you could hold on to a lower monthly payment. And any sort of credit card debt that's hurting your credit score due to the utilization, guess what? Goes away. So it was a very easy, I wouldn't even say it was a sell. I think the Figure loans came out, and I think they were a godsend. I just think you're giving people gifts.
It's logic too, right?
Logic, yeah.
Like everything you just said, I think you're using language very well. Like the way that you're intertwining compounding interest within that initial first sentence is very smart. I think a lot of people struggle when it comes to the communication aspect. And it's like using too many words and going around the houses. It's like, no, we're fixing this. You're paying compound interest on these credit cards. Here's the rate. This is what it's going to look like. It makes total sense. We'll get it done in 3 days. Sound good?
Simplify.
It sounds like it's like a 5-minute conversation at all times. Is that pretty much what you're experiencing right now?
Super simple. Just break it down in simple terms. Like, this is going to do this. It's going to not only decrease your monthly expenses, which that's what most people struggle with. There's more month left over at the end of the money versus more money left over at the end of the month. Like, that's mostly people's problem right now.
Yep.
So if we can fix that problem at the same time, we can put you in a position where we rid you of credit card debt, which is going to increase your credit score, right? And we can put you in a position where now that you're making this monthly payment, the balance actually goes down. Why wouldn't you do that?
I like that. I got a really good question here, actually. So, Beatrice is saying she has a client who has an apartment in Miami. First of all, HOA dues are crazy in Miami.
Yep.
Never smart to have a condo over there, I'll tell you that. So he paid cash for it, which is ideal. He wants to take out a loan/mortgage on this apartment to make another investment. What would be the best route?
30-year fixed cash out. You're going to get a better rate.
Yep.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you want to put the client in a position where they can leverage the most. I like a 30-year fix, no prepay penalty. If you want to go in and pay more, by all means, you can do that. And on a 30-year fix, you're going to get a better rate. So 30-year fix cash out, you're going to get a better rate than you would on a home equity line of credit. So 30-year fix is the route. Now, if this person can't verify income and we might have to use, the bank statement deposits, then we can go the HELOC route. But if this is a person that can verify income easily, then we go with the 30-year fix, lower rate.
Yeah, fully agree.
Yeah.
And the difference in the rate is like 1-2%, right?
Typically.
Yeah, that's good, dude.
Yeah.
There you go, Beatrice.
There you go, Beatrice.
That's the trick. Now all you got to do is reach out to Al and get him over, get this client over.
Yeah.
Al, one thing before we leave. I've asked this question to 2 other guests now, and I like it. If you could go back to your younger self and give him one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Give me a couple seconds to think about this. If I can go back to my younger self and give a piece of advice, save your money. Straight up. I, again, first started, it was all about money, flash. I had one of my motivations was I had driven an old beat up Volkswagen Jetta, 1997. And one of my motivations was to get a new car. Hey man, I want to get a new car. That's what I want. Before a house, before anything, get a new car. So I ended up getting a Cadillac CTS, blacked out the windows, got blacked out rims. Then a year later, I decided, hey, I need another car. I need a SUV. So I got a Cadillac XT, I believe, the truck. Had no business having 2 cars, but I had the money to do it. And I look back, and that was stupid. That was stupid. It was really dumb. It's really dumb to be buying 2 cars with no house. Really dumb to be, spending $2,000 a weekend at the club. Super stupid. So if I could look back, I would just say, hey man, this is not smart. Back then, I probably wouldn't have cared because this, I'm balling. This is gonna last forever, which it didn't. The market crashed in 2008, and to be honest, like it was a struggle from 2008 to 2010. I wish I did save my money.
Yeah.
So the main thing is just save your money, be smart. This market, as long as you put the time and put the effort in, you are going to have and experience some degree of success. But at the same time, like this is how it works. So you want to make sure that you have enough reserves for those tougher months.
Heck yeah, bro.
You know?
Do you think you would have listened to yourself?
Nah, man.
Yeah,
you know, I was
it.
young. I knew it all. You know, I was, you know, I was probably doing like 20, 30 grand a month as a 21-year-old, you know?
See, the thing is with luxury things, right? Signals of wealth, I honestly feel like the only way out is through. You have to just do it and just buy all the crap and do all the shit to realize that it doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. It's just things at the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah. So what means stuff is just, like I said, just the relationships that we build, the impact on other people's lives. You know, I told you Jimmy Nguyen, we mentioned him earlier, and Marco on my team, you know, he didn't get off to the fastest start, but once he figured it out and he made 80 grand one month, I cried. I literally sobbed in a meeting with the team because I was so happy that he was able to do it and provide for his family and do what he wanted to do. And me knowing that I had a piece to do with that.
Yep.
And for me, that's what it's about.
It's incredible, bro. Been a pleasure having you on, man.
Hey, been a pleasure being here, man. I appreciate you.